go right into the virtual protocol or
Okay,
the rules.
Thank you,
You're
Ebony.
welcome. For committee members and members of the public attending in person, please raise your hand to speak and wait to be recognized by the chair before speaking. To help the meeting run smoothly, keep side conversations to a minimum and comments related to the topic we are discussing. For those committee members who are attending virtually, remember you must be on camera and have your first and last name showing to be counted toward the quorum. Please keep microphones muted unless called upon by the chair. Electronically raise your hand to request to speak and wait to be called on by the chair. For attendees, electronically raise your hand to request to speak. Once recognized by the chair, your microphone will be turned on. After speaking, the microphone will be returned to mute. Also, the Q&A is only to be used by those needing an ADA accommodation to participate in the meeting. Public comment will not be accepted via the Q&A except for those individuals who requested the accommodation. As for order, committee members in person and virtually will be allowed to speak first. Public members in person will then be called on, followed by public participating virtually who have their hands raised. Comments in the Q&A will be addressed last. As with all hybrid meetings, it is sometimes difficult to keep track of all those wanting to speak in person and virtually, so we ask that you all please be patient. All comments and questions from committee members and the public may be limited to 3 minutes or less should we run into time constraints. So please keep that in mind. Also, comments about a person's character will not be allowed. Finally, members of the public will have the opportunity to provide public comment before each vote and during designated public comment periods. The chair may also use their discretion to determine if comments will be accepted outside those times. Okay, I'm done, Jewel.
Okay, thank you, Ebony. The next thing on the agenda is y'all should have gotten or reviewed a copy of our June 7th meeting summary, and I need a motion to approve our June 7th meeting summary. So do I have a motion to approve? Okay, Mr. Tony, makes a motion. Do I have a second?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor, I believe, makes a second, so it is motion passed. We should have approved that by unanimous consent. Sorry. Okay, so the next thing, Ebony, I'm gonna let you take the lead, but moving right ahead with our agenda is the recommendations for proposed changes to our bylaws. What we have on the screen is the changes that we kind of made at the June summary meeting with what we got from council staff as well as our parliamentarian, Ms. Nicole Larson. Is there anything you want to summarize about that, Ebony or Brendan or Hannah? or any staff member I don't see?
So yes, Jill, I was just we will go through all of the changes that you guys made from the last meeting at the end. But I did want to kind of, since we have Nicole Learson here with us today, I did kind of want her to give you guys information about one of the things that we kind of stumbled with at the last meeting, and that was the officers. So I'm gonna just allow Nicole to explain that particular section and her suggestions. And not really even suggestions. I think these are more rules, but she can give you guys further information so that the committee can make informed decisions about whether or not you want to continue to go forward with the officers you have or change it today. So Nicole.
Perfect,
Uh,
thank you.
Thank you all for having me this afternoon. Please forgive me because I literally moved yesterday afternoon and I'm living in boxes right now. So I have not a clue where my Roberts is, but I think unless of course you want citations and I can provide that to you at a later time. The information is specifically for Article 5, Section 1, where it deals with officers. Officers are elected to a position. One are elected, and then of course they have terms of office.
Can we do page numbers? I'm sorry.
Number 17, page 17.
Well, it would have changed because I separated the document, Nicole, so it's no longer attached to the policies and procedures. Oh, is it still 17? Mine is on page 5.
I have the big document where
Okay,
later I wanna bring up something about that too.
okay. Well, the document that I attached to the agenda, it does not have the policies and procedures.
Okay.
Connected. So it
So it
will
would
be
be
on
page
page 5
Yeah.
of the new document that I sent out in the agenda, because I separated the two documents. So you guys will now have a bylaws and you'll have a policies and procedures document.
Perfect, thank you.
So on page 5, under Article 5, officers and duties of officers. So officers are again elected to their office and have a term. Chairpersons are typically appointed. And you all do y'all elect your chair people?
Yes,
Do
ma'am.
elect, okay. And so chairpersons can be appointed or elected, but they chair the committees under which you operate. They aren't necessarily in the strictest sense, according to Roberts, considered officers. Those are two different things. For instance, if your chair was absent, the next officer that would be able to chair the meeting would be the vice chair. If both the chair and the vice chair were absent, there is no other officer that could start the meeting because chair people of committees are not considered officers. So that's the distinction. Even though you may elect them, they are not officers, they are chairmen, chair people of the committee. And so as such, when I provided my recommendations, I recommended that you indicate your officers as the two officers that you have, the chair and the vice chair, and then that the people elected to your committees or chair people of committees should be under your committee section under your committee section. And that again is I believe when I gave you this recommendation, I did include the citation from Roberts, but I'll make sure that you all get it if you don't have it. But that's why I was making that distinction between the two.
So, oh, I'm sorry, Lauren.
No, go ahead, Jill. I'm sorry.
So, Hey, so when we meet, when we have our vote in July, or I think it's every other July, so do we now vote for who we want is the chair for education and community inclusion chairs? Cause what you're saying, like, seems like a technicality, no disrespect, like, but it seems like we still are gonna elect all 5 office, or rather all 5 members of the executive committee, but the chair and the vice chair are the only 2 officers. Or are you saying, because I think I know where you're going with this, and I don't know.
Well, Jill, you brought up a couple of really good points. So an executive committee is made up of officers and committee chairs. So that doesn't
Oh.
change.
Okay.
In most organizations, most people don't elect committee chairs. But if that's something that you all do and you want to continue to do, that's absolutely fine. The only exception is most everybody always votes for the chair of the nominating committee. That's the committee that definitely goes by election. So that leads me to my next point, which is if you want to elect all of your committee chairs, you can. But historically, the only committee chair that typically is voted on is the chair of the nominating committee. But regardless of whether you're a chair or an officer, all chairs and officers are they are the membership of the executive committee. And again, it as long as it works for you, if you want to continue to elect your committee chairs, you can, but that does not make them officers, because if today or tomorrow your chair or your vice chair of the council was not present and could not preside over the meeting, a committee chair does not have the authority to do that.
Right, and I think that was always the practice of our council anyway. But I see.
I think Lauren has something.
Lauren has her hand raised, Jill.
Okay, Lauren, you're recognized.
She's muted.
You're on mute, Lauren.
So Nicole, should we call perhaps in the policies and procedures, not call the chairpersons officers? Is that, because it seems like you're advising us on Robert's Rule of Law, not what we should and should not do. I'm understanding that. But to fit with, so that we could still have committee meetings if the chair or vice chair was not there, is there something that says they should not be officers? Is that something that you would recommend having in there? Because when you weren't with us, what we took it as, oh my gosh, we're only going to have 2 people that are elected. And how is that going to be functional as our, developmental disability committee, with only having 2 elected officers? So that was what we were concerned about.
So that's a good question. The functionality doesn't change because your chair people are chair people, because they're still functioning in the way that they should, and they're still an active member of your executive committee. The only difference is in a full council meeting, none of them have the authority to run the council meeting if a chair or a vice chair is there. None of them have the ability to sign a contract on behalf of the full council. That's authority that only goes to officers of an organization. So it doesn't affect your functionality in any way whatsoever, but it just makes the clear distinction, because when you call a chairperson an officer, that comes with the authority to go out into the public and speak on behalf of the council. That gives them the authority to enter a contract on behalf of the council. Those things are not under the purview of a committee chair that simply is responsible for that committee over which they chair. So my recommendation doesn't really change your functionality, but it does make a clear distinction so that today, tomorrow, 3 years from now, 5 years from now, when new members are on the committee and they look at, on the council, and they look at your bylaws, it is very clear that you have 2 officers and, several committee chairs, which make up your executive committee. Does that make sense?
Yes, and you answered it perfectly. And as a follow-up to that, is there something we should put in our policy and procedures to flesh that out? Or do you think it's adequate what you suggested right here in section 1, and we can keep functioning as we functioned in the past?
Oh, yeah, I think that what you see in purple right there under that is fine. I don't necessarily believe, because this talks about your identity, it's your governing document. In your policies and procedures, that talks about operations, how you are able to do the things that are required of you in your bylaws. So unless you feel like you need it, and that's strictly up to you all, I don't think any further language in your policies and procedures is needed. But I do think that if you go further down in your bylaws, when you get to committees, where I think I suggested the committee chair information go.
What are-
Yeah. In Article 9, Section 3, when it talks about the duties of the chair of your committee, which would be on page, forgive me,
Because it's
I
section,
separated it.
Is it section?
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It would be on page 10, Article 9, Section 3.
Mhm.
That would clearly lay out what the responsibilities of each chairperson is. So I think having those 2 changes right there in your bylaws would be sufficient and clear.
Eric has his hand raised, Jill.
Eric, you are recognized by the chair.
So what you saying right here, you're saying that this would be for the board, or this would just be for the committees?
So the officers are officers of the council. And the committee chairs are the chairs of the committees of the council. And the board would be inclusive of both your officers and all of your committee chairs that, that you designate as part of the
So-
executive committee.
If the board member don't come and the secondary board member don't come, then that's, you saying to us that the meeting cannot go on, or will we have to,
For the council,
or
that is correct.
or what nobody else would be in place if they,
No, sir.
So if the chairperson or the vice chairperson, so right now that would be Ms. Christy Gonzalez, who's your chairperson,
Correct.
and our vice chair is Ms. Jill Hano. If either one of those individuals were not present at a council meeting, then you guys could not have the meetings.
So we could not put nobody else in, it could not be nobody else put in place if that happened.
That's a really good question. And so rarely does it happen, but yes, there is a procedure according to Roberts that will allow you to elect what's called a chair pro temp. You hear that in the council meetings, the Metro Council meetings, Councilman Cole is mayor pro tem, meaning because the mayor is not here, he serves as the person who runs the meeting for that meeting, you know? And so the short answer is yes. In a situation like that where neither of the officers are in place, but this is with any organization where neither of the officers, in some instances, they have a secretary, a treasurer, a president, and a vice president. If all four of those people aren't there, then the body can potentially elect a person to run just that meeting for that day so that you can still operate. But it is not, but because there are no more officers, you can't officially give that to the same person.
On that spot,
You can only give it to that person on the spot, and it's by election.
by election. So to the committee, I want to ask, have we ever thought about putting somebody in case of a situation in our bylaw?
But that's just it. You can't. I mean, if it happens, you can do it when needed, but you can't assign that to someone. So you just can't assign that to someone because it's supposed to be permanently for an officer. Any officer actually is assigned that responsibility. But if, God forbid, none of your officers show up, then of course you can't elect any member, and that could be anybody as long as they're a member of the council.
So I'm trying to get the understanding that it would have to be done on that spot.
On the spot, correct. Because that person will only serve for that particular meeting only.
Oh, okay. Okay, ouch.
Is that something that needs to, I'm sorry, Jill, I have my hand raised. Is that something that needs to go into their policies and procedures? Because at this point, I don't think that they
Realize.
Yeah, I didn't even know that could happen. That if the chair or the vice chair were not here,
Yeah, you could put that in the policies and procedures because that's something that it rarely ever happens.
Yeah.
But you want to be able to know how to handle it when it does.
Okay.
And
it doesn't hurt to have it.
I don't mean to jump in, Ms. Jill, but that was my kind of question in a way, because you don't know when things can happen, but if that was put in place, that'll be.
Mm-hmm. And I can provide you, I'll email you the language.
Okay.
And the citation, just in case y'all need it.
This is actually good to know because we had this happen or I've seen this happen on one occasion not that long ago. What is it, Nicole? A chair pro tem?
That's correct. A chair pro tem.
Thank you, Ebony.
Eric's hand is raised. Jill.
Oh, Tony, you have the floor.
Thank you. I've heard of this before, even though I was when we first started our council here, and I've been on several others through the National Down Syndrome Congress, which is national too, just like us. So I've known those predicaments that weigh heavily on committees like this. So I've heard a lot of this.
Okay.
I think we lost quorum.
Uh-oh.
Oh, Jill.
Jill, are you still there? Did you go and turn your fan on?
I'm here, I'm sorry, I went to get the power too.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
Do we still have a questionnaire?
No, I got the understanding of it now, because I never knew that could be done, and that's more clarification, because then being that it's a board that's with disabled, if something could happen. That's something that's being clarified, that we know, okay, we don't have to shut the whole meeting down.
Mhm.
That needs to be done. And that's some good understanding that we have that understanding.
Lauren has her hand raised, Jill.
Okay, Lauren.
I guess we didn't realize it because a lot of other governing bodies, like she was saying, have a secretary and a treasurer. So those are the two other people. But if we only have two, then I think it's important. And I'd like to suggest that we take the parliamentarians' suggestions. If there's no other comment, I mean, I'm ready to vote on it, I guess, if nobody else objects.
And I would second it.
Hold on. So before we second, because this is, I don't know if that was inofficial motion, but so in my mind is Nicole Larson is your suggestion that we add a member pro temp.
Because because it seems to be something that you all may feel that you need clarity on in your policies and procedures. You can add some language around what would happen if your chair or vice chair was not able to preside over a full quarterly council meeting. So that, but not in your bylaws, or actually, whatever works for you, whether you want it in your policies or procedures or in your bylaws, if that's the language that you want, I can provide that language and you can add it in whichever governing document you feel it is best suited. I think it's probably your policies and procedures, as Lauren and Mr. Taylor suggested. But I think that's, if that's the language that you want, I think that's a good idea.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, because I don't know where we are. Because I always thought that was one of the duties of our member at large, instead of having another position. Hypothetically, Angela, would that be something to add to the duties of a member at large?
So again, only an officer has the assigned duty of being able to preside or run over a full council meeting. Only an officer. And in the event, in the situation where neither officers are there, then you elect, any member can be elected as a chair pro tem.
Okay.
It's not a distinction of
Oh.
classes of members, it can be any member
At
can be
that
elected.
time, or do we say, okay, blah, blah, blah is gonna serve as our official, president, chairman pro temp? Or is it just there's no president, no chair, no vice chair, we elect Lauren to preside over the meeting for this particular meeting?
That what you just said, you can't assign it to anyone other than an officer. So if it happens to happen on that day, someone can nominate Jill, or, I mean, well, you wouldn't be there, but someone could nominate Mr. Taylor, someone could nominate Tony, someone could nominate Angela or Lauren. And if you get the vote required, that person would chair that meeting for that day.
Okay.
And as soon as the meeting's over with, their responsibility ends.
Okay, that's what I was getting hung up on. Thank you, Ms. Larson. Okay, so should we make a vote? Make a motion, Ebony?
No, I mean,
I have one. Yeah.
Okay, well, she has one other thing, but can I say this one thing?
Oh, yeah.
Whenever you guys are done with this entire document, you will vote, you will just do one vote to send the whole documents. You don't have to vote on each thing.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So Article 7, Section 1, 2, and 3, operations of a council, that really should be in your policies and procedures.
Oh, okay. We
Govern-
haven't got there yet. Hold on.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Because we haven't even picked up where they left off.
Oh,
Which
okay.
was
Gotcha.
Article number 6, section number 4.
Article number 6, section, okay.
That's where they
Oh,
stopped.
that's where they left off.
Yeah,
Okay.
so we're gonna pick up from there. I just wanted to bring up the officers and stuff
Okay.
because I know we
Yeah.
discussed that. And I wanted you to kind of just give them the information that you gave me and Jill. Okay. Eric has his hand raised. Jill.
Okay,
I have a question.
Eric,
Right, thank you. I have a question for you, Miss, I think, was
Learson.
what,
Nicole.
Nicole, I have
Yes,
a
sir.
question for you. Even if we elected somebody and the chair is not here, and that particular person don't want to take over that meeting, what happened then?
Well, the process would be, very briefly, first of all, they'd have to accept that nomination. They'd have to say, when I say, I nominate Eric Taylor to preside over the meeting, you would have to then acknowledge, well, yes, if elected, I will do it. So we can't vote you to do it if you're like, no, I don't want to do it.
All right,
Ebony, I do have a technical question, if I may.
Yes.
Do you have all the, like, additions in the smaller document, but in like a normal format? Because I tried to print it and it was really small and weird looking, and unusual looking, and I was confused. Is that the only sorry, is that the only format you have that in?
So for now, that's the one where I've been tracking all the changes you all have made. And so it adds comments to the side column, Jill. Whenever I send it to the full council, I'll make sure that the side column is eliminated so that the document isn't small. So
Okay.
yeah, for now, it'll be that small document because as I'm tracking the changes, sometimes it adds comments in that column, but I'll make sure that the document I send you guys doesn't have that column and it'll be in normal font.
All right, because I needed a magnifying glass and not even gonna lie. So, okay, thank you, Ebony. So, where are we?
Okay, so you all left off on article number 6, section number 4.
Okay,
So I have it pulled up on the screen. Section number 4 was talking about if a member is absent. And so the highlighted parts are the parts that you all added. That was the last thing that you guys did at the June 7th meeting.
okay, so let's continue. And Ebony, do you wanna help us mosey along?
Yes, sure can.
Thank
So the section 5 that was originally there, it was the recommendation from our parliamentarian that we take that part out. I think she suggested that we move that to the policies and procedures. So that's where that is now. So you have a new section 5, which is there on the screen. And all I did was add information from your virtual protocol. If it doesn't have to be this detailed, Nicole, I can take some of the information out. Okay, perfect. It's fine. Okay. So those were the recommendations from our parliamentarian, just to add the virtual protocols there to section 5. Does anybody have any questions about that part?
Nope, not really.
Okay. All right. So we'll move on to article number 7. And that's the operations of the council. We didn't have any suggestions for sections 1 or 2. Section 3, we just changed the language from the Louisiana Department of Health and Hospitals to the council's designated state agency. That's what DSA stands for. Just in case we're ever moved from the Louisiana Department of Health, we just wanted it where we wouldn't have to go back in and change that. So we added the council's designated state agency there. Is that okay?
The language itself is fine, but once again, operations of the council should be in your policies and procedures.
Okay.
Even if you look at the template that the Information and Technology Center provides, there's not an article in there for operations because, at least last time I checked, but your bylaws is a governance document. It is, who are we? How do we become a member? What is our purpose? What is our name? Who are our officers? When are they elected? That's that highest set of rules. It's about governance. Your policies and procedures are about day-to-day operations. Who do we go to when we have reimbursements from committee expenses? How do we operate? What is our annual year? When is our budget due? Those are the types of things that belong in your policies and procedures, not your bylaws.
Okay, so I highlighted that, guys. So this is a change that we've made here in the actual committee meeting itself. So I will move these to the policies and procedures, and the document that I send out to the council to review will not have this section in it. It'll get moved to the policies and procedures. Does everybody understand that?
Yes.
Okay.
Are you making me a script for when I present this next week?
I absolutely am.
Okay.
Okay, so this will be Article 7 now. I'm gonna just highlight it so I can remember. Okay, so anything in purple, Nicole, is what you suggested. So I don't know if you want to elaborate on this section or this article. Right now, guys, we are moving on to Article number 8, which will turn into number 7, the Executive Committee.
Wait, can I say something? Well, never mind.
I think it was just a move of where it was, but I don't think the language itself, other than the changes that you all suggested, I don't think that I changed the content.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for section 1, if you look at number 5, under the executive committee shall meet at least quarterly to carry out the following duties. For number 5, we changed monthly to quarterly financial statements as submitted by staff because we were submitting financial documents to the council and the executive committee every quarter and not monthly. Does anybody have any questions about that?
Not really.
Okay. Thank you, Tony. So yeah, this was basically just a move from where it was previously, and we just moved it down. So we didn't recommend any other changes. Our staff didn't recommend any other changes to Article number 8 or 7 now, the executive committee. So we can move to Article number 9, which are committees. And we basically, for section 1, we added the committees. Besides the executive committee, we added the self-determination community inclusion committee, the education and employment committee, and the education and employment committee. On the next sentence, we just stated that Act 378 subcommittee and such other committees, including but not limited to the nominating and membership committees, will meet as required to address the goals of the council. And we just took the other wording out because it just seemed unnecessary. Or we made that suggestion to take that language out because it just seemed unnecessary. Does anybody have any questions about that particular section?
We just made a really good common sense group to get rid of this for that, whatever reasons or reason that we all had to agree upon as a group.
I do think it needs to be, unless I'm missing it, I do think it needs to be in writing that chairpersons of subcommittees can be anyone.
Yeah, so that is normal practice. When an organization creates a committee, they give that committee the authority in some cases to create its own subcommittee. And typically a subcommittee member can be anyone in the community who's not even a member of the organization itself, because they bring, they sometimes are subject matter experts, and they bring knowledge that the council members themselves do not have, but need in terms of making critical decisions for operations or strategic planning. And so there's no problem with that, as long as, like you said, Jill, the language is in there that the subcommittee can be non-members of the council.
Okay, I think that's later in the.
Yeah.
in this
I
document.
thought I
Not
didn't read it, but I do think I'm just wanting to make sure that it was in writing that the chair. Okay, cool.
Mhm.
Section 6,
Mhm.
but I'm just wanting it clear. Okay, it's actually section 2 that the subcommittee chair specifically can be anyone. 'Cause that's come up.
And so where did you want to add that, Jill?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. Do you want it to add that to section 6 or?
I mean, I don't know where it would fit, but just so it's clear, like I wasn't thinking in specific section just to have it in there. But
Okay,
whatever the will of the chair is in it, I mean, the committee, it just was an idea. I don't know if what y'all's thoughts on it were, or just suggestion.
So if I'm understanding correctly, she's saying not a chair of a subcommittee, but a chair of a committee, a standing committee?
I said that wrong. I said it wrong because I meant to say a subcommittee.
Oh, yeah.
okay. So maybe the best place to add that would be section 6. So section 2 was moved to the executive committee. That was article number, I think, 7 or 8 in y'all's document. So that just got moved. This section number 2 just got moved. I just want to make sure you guys know that that's still in there. So the new section 2 is the chairperson of the council shall appoint committee chairs, but that was just based off the recommendation that you gave us previously. I think that they still want to elect those chairs.
Yeah, I saw it in black, so I assume that's what y'all were already doing. But if you elect, then that's fine. That whatever your practice is, that works. They can be appointed or elected. It's up to whatever the needs of your organization are.
I'm assuming the committee, if you all are in agreement, you still want to elect the chair for the self-determination community inclusion committee and the education and employment committee. Am I correct in assuming that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Tony, do you have a question?
Well, not so much question, but I mean, I totally accept, I totally see what we're doing. So I was just as a to help you out, Jill. So I mean, I don't mind.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Okay, so is everyone not? Is everyone, does anyone have a problem with this? Okay,
Okay, so if I'm reading this right, the council shall elect committee chairpersons, including the standing committee chairpersons and members to committees, taking into consideration their preferences and willingness to serve. So you all aren't electing the members. I think we need to change that part. So it would be the council shall elect those chairpersons and the chairperson shall appoint members. Does that make sense?
yes, ma'am.
No, I'm not under.
I can explain if you need me to hear it. Just let me know.
I'm not, what y'all saying that the council should elect chair members, correct?
Yes, we're going to continue to do the same process that you all have had in place. So you would still elect the chairpersons for the self-determination committee and inclusion committee and the education and employment committee.
Okay,
Okay,
and then we elect chairpersons on the board, correct? But do it still have to go through I know it might be a question, and the elect somebody on the board, do it still have to go, is that different than going through the governor thing, or is I'm thinking of something?
Yeah, you're thinking of something different. So that is for membership. We're talking about the nominating committee. Yeah, so these people that we're talking about right now, they have already been governor appointed. So
Oh.
anybody that's either elected to be a chairperson or appointed to a committee,
I'm sorry.
they're already
I didn't
appointed by the
understand. I
governor.
didn't understand. I'm
No,
sorry.
it's okay. Okay, so the council shall elect committee chairpersons, and the chairperson shall appoint members to committees, taking into consideration their preferences and willingness to serve. So does that make sense to everybody? Okay, great. Section 3, I think, was just moved from one of the sections. It was up earlier in an earlier article. And so we just moved it down to the committee section, the committee article. Right, yep, committees. And so none of the language for section 3, besides removing housing and health off those standing committees, was changed. Does anybody have any questions or anything for section 3?
should we add to approve the meeting summary is the duties? Or am I being too specific?
I think that when it says that to develop the committee agenda and conduct the meeting, that may encompass that, Jill, because it's a part of the agenda. You approving the summary?
Well, no, I meant if Brendan takes up the SDCI summary before he posts it, he sends it to his committee chair to approve it.
It's approved as a draft to send to the committee, but it's not necessarily the final approved summary of the meeting. That happens at the actual committee meeting.
Okay. All right. Thank y'all. Are we good on time, y'all?
Yeah, we're
Almost
moving
2:30.
pretty. Okay, so section 4, again, council staff just made a suggestion to take out the language where it says committee of the whole, and add the language, the The duties of the council standing committees and any other committees shall be to implement the goals and objectives of the council in their respective areas. Just to try and make the language a little more easy read or plain language. And again, for section 4, we added information from your virtual protocols based on the recommendations from your parliamentarian. And it's just given that the council primarily focuses on issues dealing with disabilities. Committee meetings will be held via electronic means to allow for full accessibility. All members of the committee, whether participating in person or from the anchor location or via electronic means, shall be counted for the purpose of establishing a quorum. So that's just straight from your protocols, your Zoom protocols, virtual protocols. Does anybody have any questions? Do you have something? Okay.
Perfect.
Okay, so we didn't have any suggestions for section 5. And then for section 6, I think that is where we probably need to add the language that you were referring to earlier, Jill. So I'll just kind of read it. Non-council members may be appointed to ad hoc. Staff suggests not including standing committees.
Right.
So the
I
standing
would.
committees, what is currently in your bylaws, that non-council members can be appointed to standing committees, but it's the staff's recommendation that you not allow non-council members to be appointed to standing committees. But ad hocs, caucuses, task force,
22.
all of those seem more appropriate to have non-council members be appointed to those.
Yeah.
And so were you saying like you wanted me to add subcommittees here too, Jill? Non-council members may be appointed to and chair subcommittees?
Have some possible language based on what she had said.
Okay, Jill.
I would
So-
like to second that.
Why
This is
does-
Yeah, there you go.
You could always say non-council members may be appointed to and serve as officers of subcommittees, ad hoc committees, caucuses, task force. And I think that encompasses what Jill was talking about earlier of allowing them to.
What's
You are
the
now.
difference between, never mind.
You can add subcommittees in there though.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go. And I think that covers what she was talking about earlier. with the
Okay.
And
change.
that doesn't go against what staff suggests, correct?
The only suggestion we had here, Jill, was that you all not allow non-council members to be appointed to your standing committees.
Okay, which, yes, I agree.
Okay, so everybody's in agreement with this change.
Yes.
All right, so article number 10, from the advice of our parliamentarian, she suggested, because I think this was in earlier.
Yeah.
And we just made a total new article for it for parliamentary authority. And I think this is also one of ITEC's guidelines or their suggestions for your bylaws, that this actually be a separate article. So Robert's Rules of Order, newly revised, shall govern the conduct of business in all cases in which they are applicable and not in conflict with these bylaws. So it's just your parliamentary authority that we added for section 10. It's Robert's Rules. Does anybody have any questions or comments? Okay, and then for article number 11 now, amendments. So any proposed amendment to these bylaws along with the date it is to be voted upon shall be presented in writing, and staff just suggests to make it clear that we can email these instead of having to mail them, because I think that was maybe what they were doing prior to the council, at least 2 weeks prior to the meeting at which it is to be voted upon. And at the recommendation of our parliamentarian, a 2/3 vote of those present voting at a meeting at which there is a quorum will be required for adoption of any amendments instead of ratification. Does anybody have any questions about article number 11? Okay.
May I say?
Oh, yes.
I just want to commend you, Jill, and commend all of the committee members for doing such a thorough job in evaluating your governing documents. Organizations don't always do this, and for you all to have the foresight to work with staff to come up with bylaws that are clear, that are specific to your council's needs. Really do make a difference, not just for existing council members, but any new council members to be appointed to the council. So again, I commend you all for the hard work that you're doing, both council members and staff.
Okay.
I'd like to add one thing before we go, Ms. Jill, and you talking. I got some great info through especially Mr. Bo Boyer, not so much Blake, but Mr. Bo. And it so happens that we are looking forward to, I got the email Mr. Bo, and he's looking into what just happened on our LADD council, the ones that were let go. I will for sure let you know, Mrs. Ebony, right away, what the answer will be and the response from that too. So you'll be the first. And then I'll add Mrs. Jill to your email.
Because Tony, they also did it to the Louisiana Disability, the LRS, LRC.
I know.
Yeah,
Right.
and so
And this is why
it was
this
to
is why
every.
Mr. Bo Boyer and his
Okay.
family, especially him, are very close to my family.
Okay, so
So
yeah,
I just sent that email out.
Yeah, it's not just us; it's a lot. So
Right.
for
Right.
that.
Exactly. So he's looking into it right now. Haven't heard from Mr. Bo Boyer since last week when we talked. But I will definitely get on it and kind of wait until the weekend. After the weekend is over, Mrs. Ebony,
Okay. Thank you,
and for
Tony.
Jill too.
Yeah, thank you, Tony.
You're welcome.
But while we were on the amendments, Nicole said something that made me think of this. I know in my research, I suggest that we go through our bylaws once a year. Do we need that written maybe under the amendments or somewhere?
That would fall under operations rather than governance. So if you wanted to put it in your policies and procedures, you could.
Okay. I mean, we have that section with operations.
Or actually, I'm sorry. Because you now have a section on committees, you could actually put the duty of the bylaws committee is to review governing documents annually. So that actually could go under the duties of your one of your committees. Yeah. Because you put a general statement about what the committee's purposes are.
Right.
But if you wanted to specifically,
The duties of here.
Section 4.
Okay.
Right, if you wanted to specifically outline, the bylaws committee's duties, you could do that.
Governing.
Here's the definition of governing: having authority to conduct the policy, actions, and affairs of a state, organization, or people.
Sorry.
Review and
Provide recommendations on,
annually. Does that sound okay?
To annually review.
Okay,
To annually review the bylaws and provide recommendations to the council.
Yo, can we take a 3-minute recess?
You're the chair.
I call a 3-minute recess.
I'll second it for you, Jill.
Go ahead, girl.
I was just saying, I'll second it for you, Jill.
Thank you,
We got
Tony.
it.
Okay,
In
No problem.
3 minutes, we'll be back.
3 minutes, that's
Will
2:40.
do.
Oh, Ebony, while I have y'all online, I have some good news.
We're on YouTube. Do you want to share your good news to YouTube? Just want to throw it
That's
out.
fine. It's good
No,
news.
I said 3 minutes, not 30. I'll be right back.
Okay. Maybe at the end, Christy, you can do it with the public comment or announcements.
That's fine. Just let me know when.
Okay, great, thanks.
Jesse,
Hello, everybody.
glad you made it.
Yes, I've been swamped.
No,
Ooh,
we can talk later if you like, Christy.
yes. Yes.
What time would be good?
I don't know about today, but maybe soon. You can text me or email me.
I can.
Yes. We have been really busy here.
No.
Mm-hmm.
I've been busy myself, so. Did you know that I connected with Mr. Boboye?
Yes, I heard you say that. He's a good friend of ours. I'm so glad to hear.
Because it's been a little over a week, maybe 2 at the most. And he knows all about the LADD Council,
Mm-hmm.
that there was a major discussion of not having the certainties of keeping or not keeping the selected that were chosen
Yes.
to still stand on our LADD Council
Mm-hmm.
that were already taken out.
Oh, there was a fast
It
3
felt
minutes.
personally that it was not acceptable.
Yes.
So Miss Jill, I was just talking to Miss Christie about the group that was just taken off of our council.
Okay, guys, I'm back. amount of breath, but I'm back.
So, yeah,
Okay, so it is everyone here? Ebony? Ebony? Ebony?
she'll probably be back.
Shoot,
Bummer.
just right now I'm ruined the meaning.
Yeah, Mom, it's gonna read. We have just a little bit more. And we'll end our LADD Council live Zoom at 4. So I'll be free after 4 this afternoon. All right. Thanks a bunch. I'll talk with you later.
Are y'all ready? Yes?
Okay, Jill, we're ready if you are, but Christy, I just wanted to remind you, if you wanted to be counted towards the quorum, you have to have your camera on.
Sorry.
No, you're fine.
Wait, let me try to put myself on. Hold on. Oh, video. Hello, y'all. It's been a rough day. Oh, there I am. Smiley
Are
faces and everything.
with all your smiley faces.
Are you wearing
Hey.
a Santa hat?
Who's the teacher of this whole
Right.
Yes,
Okay.
sorry. Y'all done an amazing job. I mean, thank y'all.
Thank you, Christy. Okay, Jill, we have a quorum.
Almost done.
It is 2:47. Thank you for bearing with me. And I would like to call the meeting back to order, and so Ebony, we can continue.
Okay.
Nicole Learson was talking.
Oh, were you still talking?
Oh, no, I just, again, commended you, Jill, for the work that you and your committee are doing and the hard work that the staff is doing as well. That's it. but I'll say it again.
I don't know why.
Oh, wow.
I don't know why, but I always have to call you Nicole Learson, one word. I don't know why. Okay, so Ebony, can you so Brendan or say ask Brendan about the duties for the two chairpersons as an answer. So, okay, so now we can move along. Ebony, will you please continue?
Yes, ma'am. So you guys are done reviewing the bylaws. So, the next thing on the agenda was the review of the draft bylaws. So we're just gonna go over everything you all did at the June 7th meeting and today. And, once we are done with the review, you can then ask someone to make a motion and we will send the entire document to the council.
Great.
Okay, so just going out, and it'll be on the screen as well. Remember, I separated the document, so it is 2 documents, and I did change the table of contents to match the page numbers now. So Article 1, we made 1 change, and that was just to say that hereafter, the Louisiana Developmental Disabilities Council will be referred to as the council throughout the rest of the document. Okay. Article 2, we didn't make any changes to Article 2. Article 3, the committee wanted to add self-advocacy to that one sentence where it is discussing the council's purpose.
Excuse me.
Maybe flip it. We're trying to make sure that one of our committee members is following along, so please bear with us.
So what you
I'm watching the screen.
in the agenda is from the bylaws with okay, never mind. I'm confused my own self.
So they were on this one, Article 3.
Gotcha, thank you. I'm sorry.
Okay, do you want me to continue, Jill?
Yes, ma'am, please.
Okay, so Article 3, like I said, for the purpose, the committee decided to add the word self-advocacy with the other describing factors for the purpose of the council. And number 6, under Article 3, those were just technical changes. We just capitalized some letters and changed the name of the Louisiana Department of Health. So on to Article 4, under council membership for Section 1, we just added a capital letter. For Section 3, it was the advice of our parliamentarian that we use either or. I didn't take it out because I wanted to make sure you all knew what I was doing. So Nicole suggested that we use the language from the DD Act, or we actually put the number. And I think what I would suggest to the committee is just to use the language from the DD Act and not include the numbers. So my suggestion at this point will be just to take out the 17. Is everybody okay with that? Okay.
Yes.
So we'll just remove it. And it'll go back to what it was previously before we suggested anything. So for section 3, there are no suggested changes. And then for section 4, the committee recommended adding those representatives who are not federally mandated to be on the council to this section. The representative from the Office of Aging and Adult Services, from the Office for Citizens with Developmental Disabilities, and the Governor's Office of Disability Affairs, just to describe who the council shall consist of.
Ebony, well, we have, never mind, I don't wanna interrupt you, so when.
Well, no, this is the time to interrupt, Jill. So, and then you can add anything or change anything. This will be the time now.
Hand up, but now that I'm thinking about it, that was not the opportune time to tell you.
Okay.
Okay.
So yes, Lauren does have her hand raised.
You had mentioned, or someone had mentioned a while back about DCFS wanting to perhaps have a seat on the council, but we hadn't really heard anything back about that. I wanted to know what the participants thought about maybe having DCFS as well, because we are developmental disability, and I think it would be really important if we include them. I don't know if we want them mandatory, but to maybe offer them a spot.
But then that would, I don't know.
Okay, yes, Vivian.
The camera isn't looking at the council anymore.
Time we turn the video off.
That's it. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I think just going back to having DCFS on there, you have the agencies that are responsible for providing the services to the DD community, whereas DCFS is not necessarily charged with that. They will partner with these other agencies to make sure that children have the same services that you would if you had a developmental disability. So I don't know what role they would serve on the council in that respect.
No, like, because I was a CASA, and a lot of kids with developmental disabilities are in foster care. And I just know they're very underrepresented, and they're more likely, statistics wise, to be abused and neglected. And I know, I mean, I really wish, was it Michael that has the children that he adopted? I wish he could be here to speak to it, but I don't know how. I mean, I'm newer. I don't know what value they could bring, or even if they would want to attend. It was just something I thought would be something to consider.
And I know there was a discussion about having some sort of initiative of the council around that area. And I think OCDD was partnering with DCFS on some things, which is kind of why the council did not necessarily fund an activity in that area. But Jill, you have hands in the room, Vivian, and
Oh my God, y'all, I'm sorry. Okay, do I have more than one hand? No.
yes,
Yes?
Yes, Vivian and Nicole have their hands raised.
correct.
Nicole?
Oh,
Okay, no, I'm sorry.
okay.
Like, who? Vivian, you're recognized by the chair.
Thank you. So maybe we should do outreach with DCFS. They their staff are not trained and really equipped to like handle special needs children, especially with autism. They don't seem to recognize it, and they look at the kid and think they're insane. We should lock them up. So we might want to do some outreach so they don't, get locked up.
Oh,
You muted yourself, Jill. You muted yourself.
Can please stop trying to read my lips because it's never gonna be nice words. Nicole, you're recognized by the chair.
The contact that I know at DCFS is Christopher Kirby. He's Director of Developmental Disability Services for DCFS. So if, to your point, Vivian, if y'all need to speak to someone to see what their initiatives are, that's who I would recommend you contact, Christopher Kirby, Director of DDS over at DCFS.
Okay. Vivian has her hand raised, Jill.
Vivian?
I'm sorry, I would just also like to add that kids with fetal alcohol syndrome are incredibly common in the foster care system, so that's another thing to consider.
So one other thing, I have my hand raised. One other thing to consider is that if we do add a seat for another agency representative, you will have to go up on your citizen representation as well, because we have to keep that 60% of individuals with disabilities, parents or guardians of children with disabilities, or immediate relatives. So just keep that in mind.
That was the other part of my question. If the committee decided like the self-determination, do we have something in place where it could be like a subcommittee or something like that? Or, can we invite them to come? Or how was it that that they weren't mandated to attend the partners, but that they did come, like the adult aging and all? How were they in our membership even though they weren't required?
Because, no, I have, I thought I knew the answer, but I don't.
I will say that was before all of our time, so I don't know for sure. But I would say having someone from Office for Citizens with Developmental Disabilities and the Governor's Office of Disability Affairs made sense, given the work of the council. Also, at the time, or up until the last few years, I guess, Office of Aging and Adult Services did have individuals with a developmental disability on some of their waivers. And there was I can't remember how long ago it was, but they were transitioning them into the row on OCDD side of things. So it's very possible that there was that thought process when OAS was added on to the council, but I'm not certain. We wouldn't have record of that anywhere to figure out exactly why they were added on there at that time.
Because I know we're short on time and we don't really want to sit here and talk about everything. But for some of them, I feel like we don't get as good of enough information as we would for maybe DCFS. Or what, I don't know. Especially with the education and stuff. Or for like the kids that were being neglected and things like that, or the families that were having trouble getting access to services and things like that. So I don't know a solution. I just kind of wanted to get the other council members' thoughts on it.
And Lauren, that's something, I mean, I can reach out. They haven't expressed any interest of being on the DD council, but I mean, Nicole just provided the contact person. So I mean, that I could reach out to see what their interests are, but anybody is welcome to come to our meetings and provide information. I don't think that this is gonna affect y'all today because we can't add them if they're not an governor appointed member.
And like I said, I don't even know if it'll matter if they'll come, but I didn't know where exactly to say we may want to reach out.
Yeah, I mean, and that's something that I can do. I can reach out to Christopher Kirby to see what their interests are in joining the council, and then we would have to move forward from there. Jill, Tony has his hand raised.
Okay, Tony, you have the floor, please. Please.
Oh, you're muted, Tony. Can you unmute? There we go.
I totally agree with that, but for what you're expressing, your whole description of that, because it needs to be that. We're here for these unforeseen topics that we're discussing, and plus we want to have a deserving, equal, fair share of these topics that we're sharing, especially the one right now. And we just need that complete fairness line of going out there and just really find out what we can do and not what we can't do. So we want to open that extra door and say, let's see what happens.
Okay. Well, thank you, Tony. I'll make sure that I reach out to Mr. Kirby to see what DCF's interests are.
And if you want, add me to the phone call, so you won't be by yourself.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm gonna keep moving. Section 5. We added the information from the virtual protocols to the voting section. And so I want to just make sure with Nicole that this is right here, right? It's not in the policies and, okay, that's perfect. Okay, great. Section 6, we only decided to take away developmental disabilities because remember in section 1 or article 1, we said that the council will be referred to as the council from here on out. So those are just technical changes. We added a section 7, terms of council membership, to what article are we on now? Article 3. Or Article 4, sorry, council membership. So terms of membership. We just added information here based on, in that first paragraph, based on ITEC's recommendations. Just kind of making sure we clarify that if there is a vacant position is due to resignation or unexpected vacancy, which could be due to death or disqualification. In the second paragraph, the term of the chairperson, vice chairperson, and I'm assuming we're not saying other officers, so I need to take that out. Correct. Yes. Okay, so I'm taking this part out.
I have a question.
Okay. And Eric has a question, Jill. Oh, wait.
Sorry, Madam Chair, I misspoke. Because you all will continue to elect, you should probably not say officers, but all elected. You
Elected.
should say officers and elected committee chairs.
I
Just,
was thinking just say executive committee. But I mean, your suggestion is probably more appropriate than mine. But I did want to throw that out there to just turn everything and that says officers into executive committee.
This may also be me overthinking things because I'm good at that, but after elected, should you say standing committee chairs? Because otherwise it could be implied you're talking about subcommittees or ad hocs or,
I was.
I don't know.
they're not elected.
Right, it's not elected.
Yeah, the others aren't elected. The language that y'all included was that the chairpersons of the what committee?
There's self-determination and education and employment.
Okay,
Yeah, that's the ones that you,
so that'll be referenced in the previous
Correct.
section. Gotcha, okay.
Okay, so this reads the term of the chairperson, vice chairperson, and elected committee chairs shall be limited to 2 consecutive terms. Should we keep in any officer role?
in any elected role.
Okay,
Elected.
So I can do, cause I was only vice chair for a few months. I don't think I was vice chair for 2 quarters. So by this, could I be vice chair next year and then be then run for another executive committee position?
I'll have to look at it, Jill, just because, yeah, you were appointed as the vice chair whenever Rashad resigned from the council. I would have to,
And I only served that, I only filled in for Nicole for 2 weeks, 2 months. And then I got my own term in October.
So according to Roberts, once you serve more than 50% of the term, that's considered the full term. And in
Okay.
which case then it would be,
it would count.
it would count. But anything less than 50% of that first term is less than the term. It's just simply filling an unexpired term, and that does not count towards the term limit here.
Okay.
So that means that's not included. You start with the election where you serve the full term, and then you have another consecutive term that she can.
Okay.
take.
When you find your manual, can I get a citation
Absolutely,
on that?
yes.
Because I haven't read that.
I absolutely will email that to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, Eric, you're recognized by the chair.
I'm good because it kind of answered my questions with the things I had, so I'm good.
Okay.
Okay, then Ebony, can we please continue?
Yes, ma'am. Section 8, we just added the information there that officers may serve to, maybe I should change that to elected, what was it? Elected officials, elected,
Mhm.
What did you say earlier? Elected?
well, I said
Yeah.
an elected
Elected
committee.
officials.
So should I say officers and elected committee chairs?
Mhm.
Okay. And this will get changed to section 7. And this is Article 4. I don't even think this is 5. It's Article 4, okay.
Yeah.
Here. Okay. Okay, so section 9, the suggestions that we made were just their terms for vacancies. Their term shall be for the unexpired terms of membership. If the remainder of the term is 1 year or less, the council member is eligible to be reappointed for a consecutive term of membership. We just changed it from 1.5 years to 1 year. Okay, so now we get back to the part where Nicole was explaining things earlier. The officers shall be the chairperson and vice chairperson. We're on Article 5, the officers and duties of officers.
17.
I think we may have to change some things here. All officers and standing committee chairs
Mhm.
shall be elected by a majority of the council at the July meeting to serve for 2 years, effective October 1. No elected officer or standing committee chair shall serve more than 2 consecutive terms in any office. Does that make sense, Nicole?
Or elected role.
Okay, in any office or elected role. Okay, section 3, when a vacancy occurs in an office, we just once again added that language. And this was ITEC's recommendation: due to resignation or rotation off the council or an expected vacancy due to death or disqualification. We just added that there. And then at the bottom, where it's like members will be advised that there will be an election at least 2 weeks before the council meeting when possible. Okay, so moving on to section 4, the nominating committee shall be elected by the council or the executive committee, because if you all recall, Nicole Learson said that the only committee where the chair should be voted on by the full council is the nominating committee, right?
Well, the only committee that the chair of the council should not have any involvement with is the nominating committee, right? So he or she should not appoint at all, that person.
Right.
I like that.
Repeat that.
So because the nominating committee is about electing officers, the chair who can appoint any committee members should not have the ability to appoint the nominating committee, because that could be seen as them trying to appoint someone that's favorable to them so that they could get reelected, and you want to stay away from any even perception of impropriety. So the chair of the council should not have anything to do with the nominating committee because of their role. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Mhm.
I just added the wording there. A nominating committee, including the chair, shall be elected by the council or the executive committee at the April meeting of the council during the council's election year, biannually or as needed. That's a suggestion from staff. The committee shall provide notice in writing via email. Once again, we just wanted to make sure that was clear and we don't have to mail these things. Of its nominees to all the council members at least 21 days in advance of the July meeting. So that's section 4.
Just add your commas, including the chair,
Okay,
because you're referring to the nominating committee chair, right?
right.
Yeah, just to.
All right, section 5, number 3, to appoint, well, these are the duties of the chairperson, to appoint the membership of all standing and ad hoc committees with the exception of the executive committee and the nominating committee. And Ms. Nicole Learson just explained why. Okay, so we didn't make any changes to the duties of the vice chair, which is in section 6. And then remember, we moved all of those other duties of the chairpersons for those standing committees down to a different article. Article 6, meetings and attendance. Meetings of the council shall be held the third Wednesday and Thursday of each quarter. Nicole, did you give us some advice on this part? Was this too specific or?
I think, yeah, while the bylaws should include the frequency of when you meet, you know, monthly, quarterly, annually, I do not recommend being too specific, because if you meet any other time than when your bylaws say, then you're out of compliance with your bylaws.
Okay. So your suggestion would be just to keep it at quarterly, will be quarterly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Could we put the specifics in the policies and procedures?
That's a great question, Jill, and you're absolutely right. That was my recommendation.
Okay, because I'm so glad you're here today, because I am understanding so much more than I understood at the committee meeting last week.
Okay, so just moving right along, unless due to extraordinary reasons, a majority of the executive committee determines a meeting must be held in a different month or date. So it was just the staff's recommendation to put our date. And that's okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. So again, we created an article specifically for the parliamentary authority. So that's why section 4 is gone. The new section 4 addresses attendance. If a member is absent from 2 consecutive meetings or 3 non-consecutive meetings of the 4 quarterly council and or committee meetings in a 12-month period, the executive committee will discuss the reasons for the absence with the member and may ask for that member's resignation in writing. If the member continues to not attend council and or committee meetings after the initial meeting with the executive committee for reasons other than extraordinary circumstances, whether that be health-related reasons, acts of God, natural disasters, etc., the executive committee will submit the member's name and the number of absences to the governor's office of boards and commissions for consideration of removal if the member has not resigned. So are we all good with that? I know you guys discussed this a lot at the last meeting, so I think we're okay with that one.
Yeah.
Keep moving. Section 5. Again, that's a technical, we just took out the developmental disabilities part and we added the virtual protocol based on the parliamentarians' advice. This Article 7 will be moved to the policies and procedures, so that'll no longer be in the bylaws. based on the recommendations from our parliamentarian. And then the new Article 7 will be the executive committee. Again, we just moved that information from a different article down to this one. Or we created a new article, I think, for this one. In section 1, where we are discussing what the executive committee's duties are. For number 5, we just said that the executive committee will review financial statements quarterly instead of monthly.
And the alignment of number 6 to number 5.
Oh, yeah, I don't know how that happened. Thanks. And I may not get it right now. I can fix it for sure before I send it to them. Article number 9 is committees. And remember, we just basically spelled out what the committees are, the standing committees, and then the Act 378 subcommittee and other such committees, including but not limited to the nominating and membership committee, will meet as required to address the goals. We just took out that last part to make the language clear. Section 2 is in a different section now. And the new section 2 is addressing the council shall elect committee chairpersons and the chairperson shall appoint members to committees taking into consideration their preferences and willingness to serve. So that's something we just did here today. And all the rest of the items, I don't have to go through them unless you guys want me to, because these are the items that we changed today. So if anybody has any other questions, I can go through, but if not, these are the changes that you guys made today. So I think you all were in agreement. So Jill, I don't know if you want to ask for a motion.
Okay, so now that we've gone through these changes and made them, we are now ready for a motion to set these recommended changes. Can I get a motion?
I motion that the recommended changes be done.
Okay.
And I'll second that.
Okay, thank you.
Wait, I'm sorry. I didn't get it. I was trying to stop tracking the changes. What
Oh,
was the recommended
To
changes?
accept the recommended changes to the council's bylaws.
and I'll second it.
Y'all, while we're waiting, I wanted to, and I forgot at the beginning of the meeting, but as we all know, we have a new deputy director of our council, and I think we should give Brendan a round of applause to congratulate him on his well-deserved promotion. All right, no,
Thank you.
We're very blessed.
we are very blessed to have you, Brendan, and I think this is y'all are a strong team and we're going places.
Okay, thank you, Jill, but we have a motion on the floor.
Sorry.
But yeah, I mean, we can definitely congratulate Brenton. Definitely, he deserves that position. But I just want to make sure that we take the vote. But you need to, I don't know if we have public comment, but yeah, kind of go through the steps.
So we have a motion on the floor, motion made and motion seconded. Before we vote, do I have any public comment? Okay, seeing none.
Okay, I can do the roll call vote.
Oh, maybe you do. Did someone understand? Off the video?
Angela's
Oh, it's
missing.
down. Okay, never mind.
But
Wait,
Christie.
did we have a quorum?
No, you do. There was just some video I
Oh,
couldn't
there
see.
she
I
is.
just wanted to
couldn't
make
see
sure.
her either. Okay.
Okay,
You do have a quorum, sorry.
So we're gonna do a roll call vote. A yes is to accept the recommended changes to the council's bylaws and send those recommendations to the full council. A no would be not to accept the recommended changes. So once I call your name, say yes or no. Miss Nicole Banks, Mr. Michael Billings, Miss Christy Gonzalez, you're muted, Christy, if you're talking. We didn't hear your vote.
Oh, yes, I'm good.
Okay.
Hi, Christie.
Hi. I approve.
Okay.
Yes.
Miss Angela Harmon,
Yes.
Mr. Tony Piontek,
Yes.
Miss Brooke Stewart, Mr. Eric Taylor,
Yes.
yes. Miss Vivian Webb,
Yes.
yes. And Miss Lauren Womack,
Yes.
yes. That's 6 yays.
oh, I'm sorry. So, it was 6 yeas to 0 nays, so the motion passes.
Is the yay spelled correctly?
I think so. It is, or is it yays like this? EA. Like that. I'm like, yay. Okay. So Jill, you can proceed with your congratulations to
No,
Brenton.
not necessary. Y'all did it. It's fine.
The moment's over and
Exactly.
that's
Keep it moving.
It's okay to laugh.
I think he just wants to go home.
Just not a fan of the spotlight, Lauren.
I don't blame you.
I'm sorry, Brendan.
That's okay.
Congrats,
I
Brenton.
appreciate the kind words. Thank you.
Okay, Jill, so if you want to take any public comment, that's the last thing on the agenda.
All right, so do we have any public comment?
Christy, I know you wanted to make an announcement. I don't know if you want to now.
Public?
Mrs. Ebony,
Yes,
I know Piontek is spelled correctly, but it's still underlined.
I know. That's something that I can't change.
It's
I
okay.
can just
You can
accept
add
it,
to your
yeah.
dictionary.
Okay,
okay.
I'll add it to my dictionary. There we are.
There you go. Beautiful. Sense of humor is always a plus.
Okay, Christy, I don't know if you still wanted to make your announcement. I'm not sure if she's there anymore.
Her face is gone.
Okay. The only announcement that I have is that the July council meeting is approaching very quickly. It's the 17th and 18th of this month. So the links are on the website, and so if you guys are attending virtually, just make sure you register. But if not, I will see you guys in person on the 17th and 18th.
Yahoo.
I need that on paper.
Goodbye.
So, all right. The meeting's adjourned.
3:32.